What's up, guys? Welcome back to Natalie's Reptile Room. Today, this is your host, Natalie, co-host Kevin, special guest, Polka Dot, the Leopard Gecko.
The Leopard Gecko, that's right. So what's up, guys? Today, Natalie and I are getting back into the pros and cons of specific
Leopard Geckos.
Well, specific pet reptiles. Yes. Today's video is the pros and cons of one of the most popular pet reptiles in the entire world. Leopard geckos. What do you think about leopard geckos?
I like their appearance and their beautifulness, and if you guys heard, their appearance.
Yes, they are beautiful little geckos. But if you guys are actually looking for a care video on leopard geckos, we already did that. This is just the pros and cons. If you want the care video, you can watch it right
here. And if
there.
you want to watch this video, you can watch it right here.
Here. All right, ready to start with the pros? Let's get into the pros. Pro number one, their care is pretty simple. You get the correct substrate, the humidity, the heating, and you're pretty much good to go. We get a lot more into all of that in the actual care video, but just know their care is pretty simple.
Yeah.
Pro number two, husbandry-wise, they are a very hardy lizard, where if you are slightly off in their care, they'll do just fine. Now that's absolutely not an excuse to just say, oh, whatever, we'll put them in this and call it a day. You still have to do your best. But what we're getting at is even if the temps are slightly off or the humidity is temporarily off, they'll do just fine. We'll get a little more into that in the cons. Pro number three, kind of as you mentioned in the beginning of how beautiful they are in their appearance, leopard geckos come in many different beautiful morphs. Anything from like a normal to that like really bright orange, or ones that we've recently seen called the Black Knight, where it's a jet black leopard gecko. Do you remember when we went to the last Reptile Expo and they had leopard geckos that were like bright orange?
Yeah.
How about the ones that were like jet black? You remember them?
Yeah.
I think they call them a Black Knight, but they were super cool looking leopard geckos. Do you know what a morph is?
So morphs are colors.
Colors and patterns, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Pro number four. They are a small lizard, so a good sized lizard for almost anyone. They typically, on average, only get to about 7 to 8 inches, so that's not that big. They're definitely not like a Nile monitor or a Savannah monitor.
Yeah.
You know, they get big. How big is Lamb Chop gonna get? That big? He's gonna be longer than you one day. Do you know the Nile monitor is already almost as long as my arm?
No, but is he gonna be this big?
Yeah, about 4 feet.
That?
Now the Nile monitor, he's gonna be like as long as Daddy is tall.
Like this?
Bigger than that. So they're big lizards.
Like this?
But as far as their size, we'll get a bit more into that in the cons also. Pro number six. Most leopard geckos are super friendly and docile little lizards. However, if they know Polka Dot, they know she's probably our spiciest little reptile that we have. Who is the only reptile we have that's bit you? Her. So yes, Polka Dot is a little spicy, but I would say 90% of leopard geckos will never bite you.
If it's not ours.
If it's not ours.
If it's not a spicy one.
If it's not Polka Dot, right?
Yeah, if it's not a spicy one.
Right. Pro number seven. The overwhelming majority of leopard geckos on the market today are all captive bred, which that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you, I've never even seen a wild-caught leopard gecko. That's how rare they are.
Yeah. Oh, yep. That's how spicy he is. He is. Look how spicy.
And our final pro number 8. Most leopard geckos are great eaters and will give you no issues eating.
Yeah.
If your leopard gecko isn't eating, that's usually a good sign of some kind of sickness. And the other pro there is leopard geckos are insectivores, nothing else. You remember what insectivores means?
Insectivores.
What does that mean? They eat what? Insectivores?
Insectivores.
Insects. Crickets. Stuff like that. So being an insectivore, their diet is readily available almost any pet store you go to.
Yeah, and guys, if you find that in theirs, you should put them in a different enclosure immediately.
She'll eat it, right? If a cricket's hopping around in there.
Well, if a beetle was that big, she would definitely not eat it.
That beetle would eat her. A beetle that big?
Yeah.
And somebody found a cupcake. No cupcakes for Polka Dot, right? Alright, and let's get into the cons. There's only 2 of them. Con number 1. As we had mentioned, leopard geckos are a small lizard, and they can be very fragile. Dropping them could severely injure them. They can also drop their tail, so if you pick them up by the tail or pinch their tail or hold their tail down in any way, they are able to release their tail, which that in itself can lead to a number of other issues. If you are letting a child interact with a leopard gecko, Natalie and I would highly recommend supervision for those reasons.
I would want to hold her, but I don't feel like it.
You don't want to get bit.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, con number 2. Leopard geckos do have a couple of health concerns that you need to keep an eye out for. Stuck shed can cause them to lose their toes. Definitely don't want that. Respiratory infections, burns, those are the usual suspects.
And guys, if you see that on them and you want to peel it, you can't.
That's right.
Because if you whip it like this, that would hurt.
You gotta let them shed themselves, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because in the care video we bring this up, but a good way to help out with that stuck shed is giving them a humidity box. And in that care video, we show you basically what a humidity box is. And that does it for our pros and cons of the leopard gecko. As you can see, we finished with a lot more pros. Leopard geckos make for one of the best pet reptiles there are. That's why they were on our best kid-friendly reptiles. There's a few things we would add to it, like supervision if a child's interacting with them, but leopard geckos make for an absolutely awesome pet reptile for almost anyone. But we hope this video gives you all the information you need to make an informed decision of whether or not you should get a leopard gecko, or at the very least makes you want to research them more before actually getting one. Alright guys, but that does it for today's video, and we will see you Wednesday. Bye guys.
Bye.